Welcome everyone, my name is Sagar and in this video we are going to start with object-oriented programming in Java, and this is going to be a part of our complete Java plus DSA course, but you can also watch this separately if you have a basic understanding of syntax of Java. And as this course is oriented more on your logic building and also to provide you more valuable knowledge, so we will spend a lot of time on this topic, this particular object oriented programming. And that is because according to me, I think this is the topic that makes the difference between a better programmer and just a random normal coder. So either you are making your web projects, your Android or any other projects, you will be definitely using the concept of OOPS. So you may or may not be using one of your favorite data structure, but you will be definitely using this object oriented programming. So you should have all the knowledge of these concepts, and this is one of the concepts that is definitely asked in your interviews. So they will ask you complete definitions like what is inheritance, define abstractions. So if you have a good hands-on practice with all these concepts, then you can explain it to your interviewer very well, and you can impress them. So just stick with this course and I can guarantee that you will feel confident after completing all the assignments and after practicing all of these. So now let's just see what is this OOPS. So OOPS means object oriented programming, and that means when we are programming, when we are coding using the concept of objects and classes. But what are these objects and classes? So first of all, let me just tell you that Java is not a pure object-oriented programming language, and that is because we have these primitive data types, and we also have this static keyword, and we will just see what is this static keyword. So we have these primitive data types, and when we are creating some objects, so when we are creating variable int a equal to some value, so this is not an object, right? And you already know this thing. So that is why Java is not a pure OOPS language, and this can be also a very important interview question. But our question is still same, what is an object? So I will just say everything is an object. So you can just take the example of yourself, or suppose for me, I am an object. I am an object of human class. So that means human is a class and I am the object of human class. So that means human have some properties. It have two legs, two arms and a body. So I have all these properties, and that means I am also a human. I am object of human class. I am not the entire human class. I will just say I am a human. So I will just say I am an object of human class. So same as this example, I will just say animal. So what is an animal? I mean, animal is also a species, we can say, and animal also have some subclasses, like dog is also animal, cat is also animal, but they also have different properties, right? Suppose you have your animal pet. So this can, your pet can have a name. So like for example Tuffy. So your Tuffy can have some properties also. It can also wear some clothes. So that is the specific property of your object. That means your pet animal, right? And that also means all the objects have some different properties, but they are of same kind, right? So we all are human, but we all have different properties. Like some can have 4 fingers, some can have also 5 fingers, 6 fingers also, and these are the properties of particular human object, and that means we have to define that property in our human class. So let me just show you how we can write this thing in our code. So first of all, you can see whenever we are creating any Java file, we have this class. So that is our public class, that is also class. So that means we can create object of this class, and that is your public class, and public class means that is the main class of this file, and this should have the same name as our file name. Okay. And also we have to follow some conventions in Java, that our class should have our first character as capital. All right. And inside our public class, that means the class of this file, so we will also have our main method. So that is the basic thing we are already doing from our lecture 1. And whenever we are compiling our code, so your compiler will just look for this main method in your public class. All right. So whatever thing we are writing inside of this main method will just get executed after we are just running this program. Okay. So first of all, now we have to create an object of some class. So let me just see, we are creating a class human. So I am not writing here public class, because if I am writing here public, then that should be in a separate file of the file with the same name. Okay. So here you can see I am creating another class inside the same file, but it should not be public. All right. And you can see I am creating this outside of this block. Okay. So I am creating a human class. That means now we can define some properties of this human. So inside these curly braces, now I can define some properties. So suppose for example, it have some name. So name is a string. So that's how you can define any property, and you can also define the properties in this lecture 25 class. So suppose how long is this lecture, so I can just define the length of this lecture. So it can be integer, it can be long. Okay. And we can also use it. And for our human class, we can also define other properties like what is the age of this human, how many fingers this human have. So we can write also integer number of fingers. Also we can define the gender here. So there are only two genders, and I think not, we should write here string. I am not going to take any risk here, so we will write here gender. So gender is also a string, and now we can create the object of this human class. So let me just write here. So how can we create our objects? So first of all, you already know how we were initializing our values in Java. So something like this: int a equal to 1, and after that semicolon. So int means that first of all we are defining our type, and when we have to create our object, we have to follow the same syntax. So first of all, we have to define our type. That means this is of human type, and after that we are defining this now. So we can also say this is an identifier, and now we have to define our object name. And this, remember this thing, that this is not our human name. So human name is different, and this entire human object name, object identifier is different, and we will just use that identifier to refer it in our memory. Okay, so you can just define here first human, second human, or you can just say human object. So I will just say human, and that equal to, so now we have to initialize a new human. So that means I have to write here new human, and we will just pass here empty constructor. And let me just tell you, you are already doing this thing. So we already know this thing from our lecture 1, and let me just show you. Suppose in this lecture, so you can see we are defining here this scanner class object, and we are just using the same syntax. First of all, this is a scanner type, and after that our object name, and then new. So using this new keyword, we are reserving a particular space in our memory, and that will be our heap area. So there are two type of memory in our Java. So first of all, we have this heap area. So I will just write here heap, and the second one is stack. So I will write here stack, and stack will be something like this. So it will have some values. Okay, so we will also learn about the stack data structure. And if we are creating any object using this new keyword, then that means we are reserving some area in our heap. So that means now this area will be reserved for our this human object. Let me just write here first human, first human. So you have to also follow this convention, that whenever we are creating any class, so the first character should be capital, and whenever we are writing the object name, so if this object identifier have only one word, so then it should be in all lowercase, and if it have multiple words, then we can write it in this order. And I think this is called as our caterpillar case. I am not sure, let me just know in the comment section if I am right. So after that, using this new keyword, we are just reserving a particular area in our heap memory. Okay, so this is for our first human. All right, and after that we can now just access the property of this first human. So let me just write here s out first human dot. So you already know this thing, that using this dot we can use multiple methods or properties that are associated to this particular object. So when we are creating this first human object, then using this dot we can access these properties. So there are a total of 4 properties that are defined in this human class. So suppose I want to have this name, so we are going to get a null pointer exception here. And let me just check. Okay, this is not a null pointer exception, and that is because we are just printing this string and not using it anywhere. So don't worry, we will just learn about exceptions in our later videos. So here you can see we are printing the first human dot name. So that means we are printing the name of our first human, and that is here null. And that is because the name is never initialized. We are never setting any name of this human. So by default it will be null. And suppose you have to initialize it. Suppose you have to give this human a name. So I will write here first human dot name is equal to, so you can just use the same syntax, and suppose I have to write here a string. So suppose I am writing here Sagar. So this first human name will be Sagar, and we will just print it now. And now you can see it is here Sagar, and by default the age value will be 0, number of fingers will be also 0, and gender will be also null. Okay, so you have to define all the values, and for defining all values in one line we have this constructor. And constructor means when we are creating the object of this first human class, we can just define all the values here. So we will just learn about constructors in our upcoming videos. So I hope now you know what is this human object and what is this human class and what is the difference. So for some geeky definition, you can also say object is like an entity of real world. And then what is this class? So class is like a blueprint of that particular object. So this human is a blueprint of our human class, right? So what is a blueprint? You already know that this is something like a blueprint. You already know this is some page that will define all the properties, right? So what a human will look like, something like this. It will have two hands and two legs. Okay, so this is our blueprint, and that will be our class. So that means using this blueprint we can create our object of human class. And I think now you understand what is this object and what is a class. So that is it for today, everyone. If you like this video, then do subscribe to our channel, and thank you for watching.